forgot to. So we're going to be recording this and we will be sending out a summary to everyone. In addition, we will also be sending out I will also be sending out an AI summary of this. Not sure how helpful that's going to be, but I really recommend that if people have questions, they watch the video. And now I'm going to hand it over to Carina. Welcome and thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me. It's great to spend this hour of the evening with you all. Thanks for joining me. So like was already mentioned, my name is Carina Cruz. I'm the Director of U.S. Counselor Outreach over at Initial View. Been here for a few years and was actually a college counselor myself just before. And so I've used this with my own students. And I loved how it was so much that I sort of hopped over to the other side and wanted to talk to other students and counselors about it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to sort of take you through what Glimpse is, show you some example videos, even do a demo at the end so you have a clear sense as to all the steps to it from beginning to end. And I promise there will be time at the end for questions as well, okay? So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Okay, all right, awesome. So before I really jump into Glimpse, just to sort of give you a lay of the land of the college application field and process, right? So right now, it's an ever-changing, sort of field, but there have been a lot of shifts recently in sort of colleges looking for more authenticity and making sure they're learning more about the students themselves, especially with the rise of AI and ChatGPT, and wanting to make sure that they're really hearing from the students directly. So with all of these shifts, colleges are sort of looking for other things in the application process, along with things that they have already been asking for, like the essays and a lot of the written application. But there are, new ways to sort of make yourself memorable that, thanks to, the pandemic, a lot of people have been looking to video, right? So that's been sort of a big thing coming up in sort of the college campuses. And sort of we're here to provide you with a tool to sort of tackle that new need that folks are seeing in the college application process. So in comes Glimpse. So Glimpse is a tool that you'll be able to use through us, that you record a 60 to 90-second video that you can include in your college application. So you're literally inserting your voice and your story in the process. It's a great way to stand out among the masses. I like to tell, make it clear to students, right? Like, admissions officers are reviewing thousands of applications at one time. They can only spend but a few minutes on each application, and they all start sounding the same. All the essays, all the, the list of extracurricular activities, right? It just all mushes together in an admissions officer's brain, but no one can copy your voice, your face, your story, right? So it gives the admissions officers a great break, but also a way to stand out, and sort of break up that process for the admissions officer, so they can get to know you directly from you. So it's a great way to insert your voice in the process. So there's sort of two major parts to know about Glimpse. There's the video statement, which I already mentioned. It's not school specific. So this is a all you can send video. So there's one video that you send to all of your colleges. And we did it that way because we want to make sure that students are focusing on what really matters to them, what they want to make sure that all of their schools know about them. Sometimes, like we see with the college supplemental essays, students feel like they have to put themselves in the box or say specific things that they think that school wants to hear. But if you're sending it to all of your schools, you're focusing on something that really matters to you, right? And it's less work for you because you're only doing one video as opposed to 15 different videos. So saves you a lot of time and energy, right? And it provides a lot of additional context and student voice. But there's also the 2 virtual stars that you get to use during the regular decision part of the process. So you're able to send a star to your top 2 choice schools. It shows a little extra love to them, and colleges love to know when you're really serious about their campus. We actually have admissions partners that have built filter specifically to see who has sent them a star. So it really matters to them to know that you took this step to do that. And it puts you in the driver's seat of really letting the schools know who your top choices are. By no means do all of your schools, it doesn't indicate to schools if you didn't send them a star. That's a question that I get a lot. It's just indicated if you did send a school a star, right? And the reason we do it specifically during regular decision, this is a tool you can absolutely use during early action and early decision. But since you're taking the step to send your video or apply early anyway, that is a really strong indicator that you're passionate about that school. So during regular decision, when there's a lot more schools, there are a lot more applicants, right? You need a little extra punch to your application during that time. So that's why we set it specifically for regular decision, because it's just more powerful and there's more of a need for it during regular decision. But you can absolutely send your video statement early. And then, if things don't shake out the way you quite hoped, you can absolutely still send your virtual stars and your video statement during regular decision as well. So just something for you all to think about if you're planning on applying early and to that sense of the timeline. So this is what it looks like from the admissions officer's point of view. So we actually, Slate is the platform that a lot of the colleges throughout the country use to review applications. So we are integrated with Slate, so we hop right into the application file. Why does this matter? We get the question a lot of like, okay, well, what makes this different than sending a YouTube link to a video that I create myself? You never know if admissions officers are clicking on that link. Again, they only have a few minutes to spend on the application. So the chances that they are leaving their portal to go watch your video and then coming back is not very likely, right? But since we go right into your application file with the rest of your application materials, they're able to just click on it. They can even play it in the background as they're, reading your essay. They can bring you into committee. So it just makes the admissions officer's life a lot easier, which means they're more likely to watch it and hear your voice in the process. You can see us on various school websites, including Duke University, University of Chicago, Middlebury. That's just a handful. And again, it's one video for all of your schools. So our rule of thumb, if you're happy with the video, just send it to all of your schools, right? It doesn't cost anything extra. And it allows you to just sort of add that value to all of your applications. Since I just mentioned costs, it's $22 to send to any and as many schools as you'd like to send it to. So it's just that one-time fee. You don't have to send per school. It's an unlimited amount of sends to your schools, right? So, you might as well take advantage and send it to all of your schools. If there are any of you that are eligible for free or reduced price lunch, or work with a college access organization or get a fee waiver from College Board or ACT, you are eligible to use this for free as well. So just something to keep in mind on your end. So I'm going to show you a couple of student examples. We get asked for them a lot, and I find that students like to know what other students have used this service for. It makes what we're doing here a lot more tangible. So I'm going to play a couple of student videos for you, okay?
Hello, my name is Maymona Torre, and I am a senior at the Philadelphia High School for Girls. I felt like it was really important to make this video because I wanted to stand out as an applicant and not just be another name. I wanted to talk about things that I like to do outside of school, not just my extracurriculars and not just my academics, because you have all of that in my application. I wanted to tell you a couple things about myself. I am a big fanatic of anything animated, as you can see on my walls and my tapestries and the way that I decorate my room. I'm a very lively person. I like being in the midst of things. There's a lot of things in my life, though, that I feel like have been some sort of setback, but I really don't let those things weigh me down because I feel like those things had to happen for a reason. And if it were not for those experiences and those conversations that I've had with people in the past, and I wouldn't be the person that I am now. And I found a way, even though it was a little bit hard for me, I found a way to just be in love with everything that I am right now in the moment instead of stressing about what I might be in the future. Even though I do have a lot of plans for myself in the future and the way that I want to help my community and the way that I want to help others that have helped me, I really like the idea of outreach and bringing back to the community what was taken from us or that we haven't had. So I think that's just a big part of who I am as a person. And I hope you consider me for my application.
Right, so just a couple of things to note about Maimuna's video. She was literally able to bring you into her world, right? You're in her room, you're able to see the posters of the things that she's really excited about. She was able to talk about herself past what she used her written application for, past her extracurricular activities. So it really brings her to life as a person. And you'll notice that it was just Maimuna and the camera. There was no splicing, there was no edits, and we do that super intentionally. So there's no editing as part of our process. You're literally coming to our website, signing up, recording, and it's the straight 60 to 90 seconds, right? You can't upload a video, you can't edit. And we do that because one, it's more authentic for the colleges to meet you in this way where you're not trying to create the perfect package. But two, there is no perfect package, right? We don't want you spend so much time editing and reworking your written application. This is not something that you're supposed to be reworking constantly, right? This is really just to give them a glimpse into who you are, put a face to the name, and just tell a little bit more about yourself. And this is the medium that y'all are used to. You're used to TikTok, you're used to Instagram Reels, you don't have to overthink it. Really just hitting record and talking a little bit about yourself. It will add so much to your application and bring you to life, just as it did for Maimuna. I'll show one more example.
Hi, I'm Balan Selva. That's actually short for Bala Subramanian Selva Muthukumaran. And listen, I've gotten a lot of questions on that name. One of the most common being, how long did that take you to spell in kindergarten? I may not be able to answer that question, but I can answer a whole host of other ones. For example, I can tell you that my name actually comes rooted in the Tamil Nadu tradition, right, which is a state in South India, which is where me and my parents are both from. My dad's name, in fact, is Selva Muthukumaran Lakshmikantan, and I took his first name as my last name, as we are kind of wont to do in that tradition. After that, when I was around 5, I kind of moved to Edison, New Jersey, a place that can accurately be described as you took a whole bunch of people from Delhi and put them in the middle of New Jersey and kind of called it a day. So it's very an Indian population, which means I haven't really had to adapt in terms of culture too much. And then that brings me to my next point, which is that I'm really hoping to kind of meet a whole host of diverse experiences and diverse people in college. For example, I'm a guitarist looking for a bassist, a drummer, other people to start a band with. I'm a fantasy nerd looking for other people to create a book club with. You kind of get my drift. And on the other side, if you're a college and say, for example, you're looking for an Asian culture student with long curly hair and that kind of just loves learning, then maybe I'm the right fit for you and your college. So yeah, that's it. My name is Balan Selva, and I'm just me.
Balan is able to add so much personality. And honestly, you probably wouldn't say something like you kind of get my drift in your written essays, right? So you can show a little bit of who you are, more so than you can in your written application. And you'll notice that the framing of this video is a little bit different than the last one. And that's because Balan recorded on his phone. So you're able to record either on a laptop, on your computer, or using the app on your phone. So whichever device you're more comfortable with, as long as you have a camera and you have internet, you can use this platform really well, okay? So I just want to show you a testimonial, last video, I promise, a testimonial from a student who just used it this last year. I find, I can obviously talk about Glimpse and how great it is, but I think it's so much better for you to hear directly from one of your peers who used it most recently.
My name is Emily Singh. I'm a senior at the York Preparatory High School. I'm a part of Prepper Prep, and I am planning to go to Yale. So I think my written application was very focused on who I am academically and my academic interests. I think Glimpse was able to really show that I'm not just like a one-dimensional academic person. I in fact do have other interests outside of academics, and I love like exploring comics and exploring like really niche topics, and I think it just showed my like intellectual curiosity, honestly. I decided to do my Glimpse on a project that I'm currently doing at school. It's a research project on Spider-Gwen and human nature. So I'm kind of linking what makes the Marvel character Spider-Gwen like a good resemblance of human nature from a philosophical lens. Is this human nature? And how does she fit this? How does she not fit it? it's been a process and I love it. Yeah. Glimpse really helped me prepare for my interviews. I ended up taking what I said about that project and transferring it to all of my other college interviews. So I went to my Yale interview, I went to like a Harvard interview, and the first thing I talked about was like my Spider-Gwen project and how much I love just really doing a deep delve into both the character that I love and also just like philosophy. The advice I would say, definitely talk it out with someone. Have someone like sit across from you and just talk to them, and whatever it is that you seem like the most excited about, that's your topic. Stick with that, record every 6 seconds, and it'll be good. Go Glimpse!
So Emily was actually a student that I worked with personally. I was literally in the room when she was recording her glimpse. And one of the things we talked about a lot that she mentioned in her testimonial was that this was a great way to prepare for her interviews, right? And so I tell students all the time, tell me about yourself is a question that you are going to get constantly for the rest of your life, right? Whether it's in an interview, whether you're networking, whether you're meeting new people, right? It helps. You're gonna have to learn how to answer that question. So in a space where you can be your own comfort space, you can rewatch it. You actually, with Glimpse, you can delete and re-record as many times as you need to, so you can sort of review and see how you're expressing yourself and see if you're actually capturing what you want to share about yourself. So it's a great way to sort of practice answering that question for you. And you know, you can't interview everywhere. College interviews, sometimes colleges don't do interviews, sometimes it's hard to get them. So for schools that you can't interview at, this is a great way for them to still meet you. And for the schools that do and you do end up interviewing with, right, this is still a great addition to your application, because one, when you interview somewhere, the rest of the admissions team is making a decision based on the interviewer's notes, right? They didn't actually all get to meet you. It's based on one person's perspective and view on you. But also, you know, sometimes maybe they need to review, or they need to be reminded of who you are. And so because it's part of your application, they can actually look back, hear your voice, bringing you into the room. And like Emily said, she was able to really capture what was important to her, and she used it in her interviews. But you're also able to use your glimpse as a means of filling in the gaps, right? Like, what did you not say in your interviews? What did you not say in your written application that you can now use your video to say? So, you know, great value add all around. So there's another testimonial video. I'm not going to share this, but what Maimuna says that I love sharing with folks is, you know, when someone else is reading your words, they're reading it in their voice, right? You spend so much time working on your essays, which is important, right? Your essays are important, but how the person on the other end reads it is totally, you know, subjective and in their perspective, right? But when they're seeing you in a video, they get to see how you look when you're excited, when you're talking about something. They get to envision you and how you might communicate with people on campus and how you might interact with your campus community. And that's what you really want to do with your application, is have them imagine how you'd be like within their community, because then they want to advocate for you to actually be there, right? So this is a great way for them to really show who you are, without, you know, any interpretation on their end. They get to see it directly in the video. So a big question we get is, what are admissions and colleges saying about this? So these are direct quotes from some of our admissions friends. When we see something with initial view, it's the first thing they click on. They get really excited to receive these types of materials. They get so many materials and so many applications every year. So to be able to connect with a student one-on-one and just get to know their characteristics and interests is great. You know, they like seeing what you look like when you're excited about something, because when they see you excited, they get excited for you. And that's sort of the emotion that you want to evoke in someone reading your application, because they'll advocate for you more on the other end, right? And then it also really fosters human connection. I think students really forget that this is a human process, because you're doing it all on a computer and you're rarely ever talking to someone on the other end, but it's another human who is connecting with you and pushing for you on the other end. So, you know, it's the fact that this fosters more human connection. It makes it an all around more positive experience for you, for the colleges, and, you know, definitely a more successful one for you in the end, which is what we care about, is what matters. So why is all this important? What are the stakes? What are you putting in? 90 seconds of awkward. I'm by no means under the illusion that this is, you know, incredibly, incredibly easy for everyone, right? Talking about yourself can be uncomfortable. Recording yourself can be uncomfortable. So recording yourself talking about yourself can be pretty awkward for some students, right? But there's so much that you get out of the process. There's an increase in confidence and self-reflection. Like I said, you're practicing how to answer that question. Tell me about yourself. And so you're able to just, you know, strengthen that, you're able to strengthen that ability by using glimpse. There's an ease in interaction in important adults. At this age, unfortunately, a lot of the folks who are going to unlock opportunities and resources for you are adults, right? So being able to feel more at ease in those interactions is helpful. And then you're able to unlock direct connections and resources by strengthening this ability, by, you know, being able to answer that question and really feel more comfortable and more confident in the end. So some tips to keep in mind before you sort of go into the process of doing Glimpse yourself. Be yourself, and that's something that I highlight a lot. It's something that's highlighted as you go through the process. You'll see it's one of our rules to remember as you go through and sign up, right? Colleges are looking for authenticity. They're looking to learn about you. So you want to make sure that you are yourself in the process. That's what they want to hear. That's what they want to get to know. Don't write a script, don't read. I know that that is probably your first instinct, or that might make you feel a little bit more comfortable hitting that record button if you know exactly what you're going to say when you go into it. But in talking to colleges, usually what they tell us, like, they love every video, but the videos where they don't learn quite so much about the student or ones that they're reading or they're over rehearsed, mainly because it's hard to make a connection with someone when you're not actually like looking at the camera and you're not actually like trying to communicate with them. You're focusing on reading. But also they're not learning that authentic side about you, right? A lot of the reason why students want to read is because they don't want those awkward pauses, or they don't want those or they don't want to come off awkward at all. But that's who you are, you know. Y'all are 17, 18-year-olds. They know what to look for in students. They know, you know, sort of how you all communicate. So that's totally fine. That adds to the authenticity and even the charm of meeting you all. So I promise, just hit record, give it a shot. If you really want to make sure that you don't forget anything, or you want to highlight specific things, maybe jot down just 1 to 3 bullet points that you want to make sure to answer, but definitely don't write a script, because that's just going to be harder to connect over the camera. And you don't have to tell your whole life story. It's 90 seconds, right? It's not a whole lot of time. Admissions officers have the rest of your materials. This is just to help them imagine what you might be like on campus. So like I said, you know, really using it as the opportunity to either highlight something you didn't get to dive deep into your rest of your application, or, you know, fill in the gaps and mention something that you weren't able to mention at all in your application. That's what you want to do with this video. So focus on 1, max, you know, 2, 3 things, but you really don't have to go through your whole life story. Okay, so just to give you a sense of a clear timeline of what, you know, this could look like. So it's great to create an account and try recording now, just to get you a little bit comfortable with it. And then over the summers, come September, you can, you know, update your Glimpse, finalize it. There is a show to my counselor button, which I'll show you during the demo. So you can send it directly to your counselor, so you can get some feedback from them before you send it to the schools. And then October, November is about the time where you'd be sending for early applications. Our rule of thumb is sending within a week or so from submitting your application. So this gives you a chance. If you want to do it earlier, by all means do it. But for some students, it's easier if they complete their application, they hit submit, and then they're able to, you know, they're able to step back a little bit and say, okay, now that the written application is behind me, what did I say there what can I use my video that I wasn't able to say in my written application? So they're able to reflect during that time. But however you want to do it, but usually within a week of submitting is a great time frame to send it, so you can make sure that it's getting reviewed with all the rest of your materials. December, January is when you're sending your Glimpse and your virtual stars as part of your regular decision app. So virtual stars come out December 15th. So that's when you're actually able to use it. So our tip for students is, if you are applying to schools early, you might want to make sure that you hear back from all of your early schools before you send your virtual stars, because then you could strategize a little bit more. If there's a school that you got deferred at that you really want to continue pursuing, you can send a star there. If you want to save your stars for all of your regular decision schools, you can do that. but it just gives you a little bit more information to think through before using the 2 stars, because you only get 2 for the whole season. So you want to make sure that you use those wisely. Okay, so this is the website. So I'm actually going to go there now and take you all through a demo so that you have a clear sense to what the steps are. Oh, stop share. Yes, please feel free to enter any questions you have. It may be answered by the demo. You can feel free to, pop any questions you have in the chat. Okay. Alrighty, so this is what our website looks like. I'm gonna give you a little caveat here. So I am gonna show you the website and what it looks like to sort of go through the process. Keep in mind, we are making some updates this summer. So if you do plan on signing up later in the summer or closer to the fall, it may look a little bit different, but I promise all the steps are the same. So just for you all to keep in mind, if you come through and you're like, oh my God, this looks totally different than what Carina said, I promise all the steps are the same. I'm not giving you any useless information here, okay? So this is our main homepage, initialview.com/glimpse. Again, if you would rather do it through your phone, you would just look for the Initial View app and record there, but this is what it would look like if you record from your computer. Chrome browser is the best way to go about it on your laptop, just because it works the best with our platform, so something for you to keep in mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and record directly on the Chrome browser. So you'll see it takes you right to the rules to remember. So these are things that we want you all to keep in mind before going into the process. So like I already mentioned before, you're only sending 1 glimpse per admission cycle. You can re-record as many times as you need to. You may re-record as many times as you'd like, but there is no production or editing to be done. And be yourself. Like I said, we highlight that a lot in our process because it's important. They want to meet the authentic you. Okay, so you can use your glimpse for various things, but we're talking about for undergraduate admissions here. So that is what you would click on, undergraduate admissions. And this is when you would start putting in your information. So I'm going to put in some example information, something for you all to keep in mind for your application email. You want to make sure that it's the email that you're using on your application. So whether you're using the Common App, whether you're using the school's application directly or something else, right? You want to make sure that it's the same email across the board, just so it links up a bit easier on the college's end. If there's different emails, they might have different files. So you just want to make it easier and make sure everything is under the same email. All right, so this is where you would turn your camera on. My camera is probably going to get a little bit weird on the Zoom side, but oh, let me turn my camera off here actually. Ah, it's probably, it gets a little bit wonky when sometimes when I'm zooming at the same time. Try one more time. Would it be easier? Because I also don't want to waste folks' time and like watching me try to like reload and sort of shut down and do this all over again. Would it be helpful maybe if I record a demo of myself and you can email it to the students? Would that be possible? Okay. All right.
Yes, that will be just fine.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Tech does this sometimes. I don't want you all to watch me deal with the tech mess, but I can sort of verbally walk you through the process. I know it like the back of my hand. So essentially, you would turn on the record button. You'll see that there's this timer right here. So it'll let you know where you're at in the 90 seconds, not to increase anxiety or pressure you in any sense, but just to let you know before the recording cuts off. It'll then take you to you would confirm that video. You would then go to the rest of the registration information. So this would be your date of birth. This would be your high school, which you can look up either by the high school name or the CEEB code. And then it will ask you if you are eligible. It will ask you questions is really to see if you're eligible for a fee waiver. So it'll ask you if you're part of a college access organization, if you're eligible for your reduced price lunch, things of that nature. If you click no, you'll just continue on to the next thing. If you click yes, it'll ask you for what college access organization you work with. And then you would click continue. It'll take you back to the video so you can review it. This is where the send to my counselor button comes in. So you can click that and it'll just be a little pop-up where you can include your counselor's email, and then it will send directly to their email. And they can and they'll be able to, contact you and give you some feedback. If you are all set and ready to go, there's a send to my colleges button. You hit that. For those of you that click no to the fee waiver questions, you will then be taken to a payment page where you will pay the $22. Again, it is a one-time fee. You're not paying it for each school you're sending it to. And then it'll take you to the list of schools that you can send to. So we have over 200 schools in our system that you can send it to, but you can send it to any and as many colleges as you want. So even if you don't see the school that you want to send it to on the list, we do have a box that you can type in the name and still send it. So you're literally just clicking on the school, confirming a bunch of times you want to send it. We confirm a lot because we want to make sure that this is what you actually want to do. You want to send it to the school. You wouldn't believe how many times students sometimes send it to the wrong school. So you want to make sure that you're reading and we're confirming. And then it'll take you to the final page where you're able to see your video. You're able to send to more schools. Some students ask, do I have to send it to all of my schools at once, or can I come back? You can absolutely come back at that point after you've started submitting to schools. When you sign back into your portal, you're going to be taken to the same page always, which is the video, the send to more schools button. Come December 15th, you'll see the virtual stars button. I also didn't mention, we also have a single yellow rose, which comes out March 15th, which is during the decision time when you may have been waitlisted. So you can send one yellow rose to a school that you've been waitlisted at, that you're really excited about, that you really want to continue pursuing. Same impact and sort of message as the virtual stars, but this is for your waitlisted schools. Yeah, and then you'll be able to see at the bottom what schools you've already sent to and what date. So that's literally the process from beginning to end, is just sign up, record, send. And there's nothing that you have to do on your end in terms of adding something to the Common App or letting schools know or anything like that. You just let us know what schools you want to send it to and we take it from there. That's all you have to do. Okay. Sorry that demo didn't work out, but I promise I will record myself going through the process. And we can, we'll make sure that gets to you after. But
Diana has a question for you in the chat.
okay, awesome. Some students explain what they're including, like add a link. This is a good place for that. That's a really good question. So we have students use the video in various ways. We have had students bring in a guitar and sing a song. We've had students, bring in props and things of that nature. I would say this could be a good place for that. I would say that if because some students, especially art students, automatically see this as an opportunity for them to add to their art portfolio, which they can, but I would make sure that you're at least reserving some of those 90 seconds to talk about yourself. So they're still learning a little bit about you and hearing from you. So like my rule of thumb, I like to say, like, if you're gonna play a song, maybe spend the first 60 seconds talking about you and maybe your love for music, and then you can give them a little sample at the end, right? I wouldn't spend the full 90 seconds doing so, because then they didn't get to hear directly from you and hear a little bit more about you, hear your voice, which is really the point of it. So, you know, perhaps stand-up comedy. I mean, you're talking about yourself, like that would be really cool. I personally haven't seen a student do that yet. I've seen students be really funny on video, but they haven't intentionally done like stand-up comedy. I think that could be a pretty cool way to talk about yourself if you're doing like a stand-up routine. I think that's awesome. You're still talking, so I think that's a useful space for that. Any
Does
other?
anybody have any additional questions that they want to put in the chat, or I can unmute people if they choose? I actually do have a question about when a lot of times last year we had requests for videos that showed up in the portals
Mm-hmm.
after students have applied. Is this going to substitute for that?
That's a great question. So there's a few schools like University of Chicago, for example, that they give you can do one or the other. You can do their own video or you can do a glimpse video, right? We're hoping to move more. We're constantly in communication with schools, and I think the list of schools that are going to openly accept glimpse is going to constantly grow. So I think it definitely takes the place of that, and I think it removes a lot of the legwork for the student in terms of it just being the one video that goes to all of your schools. Because regardless of whether you use the school's portal or you use us, it is an optional part of the application. So I think the fact that you're sending them something still speaks to them and covers that base. So that's what I would say. That's what I would say. There are some schools that deliberately say one or the other. There are some schools that accept Glimpse. Brown, for example, accepts Glimpse, but they have their own Brown video portal and they don't have us on their website quite yet. We're working on it, right? So, you know, just because they have their own portal doesn't mean that they don't also accept Glimpse.
And Sophia wants to know what percentage of applicants currently use Glimpse?
That's a great question. I don't know the actual percentage, but I can tell you based on this last application cycle, it's really skyrocketing, specifically because Duke became one of our very active partners and used us exclusively. Right. So we had over 200 colleges received the Glimpse last year. And I know the number of students that sent them, it was definitely in the thousands. That's what I can tell you definitively. The exact number and percent of students that use it, I don't know. Where can we find the list of colleges that accept Glimpse? Yep. So your counselors here already have that. Just a quick caveat and to keep in mind, right? Students can send to their Glimpse to any and as many colleges. So even if you look at that list and you're like, some of the colleges that I want to send to aren't on there, you can still send it. These are just specifically schools who have built that Slate integration with us, right? But that doesn't mean that schools who don't have the Slate integration or schools who are not on that list won't accept Glimpses. We constantly are in communication with colleges, and you know, a vast majority of the time, the response from colleges is like, great, I'll add this to their application portal. So I would still send it to a school even if you don't see it on that list.
And Carina, I have a question. How often are you updating that list that I sent out to our families that was institutions that take Glimpse?
Whenever we get a school that's like, hey, I want to turn the Slate integration on, we immediately add it to that list. So it's not necessarily on like a daily or weekly basis. It all depends on the responses that we're getting from schools.
So if we contact you, say in August and say, hey, can you send us the updated list so that we can send to our students? Because I will tell you from us, one of the pain points, and I see one more question coming through, but let me just finish, is for us last year was learning at the last minute that schools were requesting videos, not requiring, requesting, but also that I had one student last year who did 5 different videos for 5 different schools. So we're hoping that this is going to make things easier and simplify.
100%. Yeah,
and-
definitely.
And you see Greg's question here.
Yep. Just to finish answering your point before I get over to Greg's question, right? So that link that I sent you, that will always be the link, so you can always check. But we can definitely touch base in August, and I can let you know if there are any new schools that we've added, but we'll always update it at that link.
Great.
Okay. Are there any other types of videos we can submit with our application, like videos we can edit or make longer? No. I think for us, we are very specific about that framework. One, because the colleges look to us because they want to get an authentic view of the student, and we actually hear a lot from the colleges that edited videos, they don't learn very much from the student about the student, because sometimes the students focus on like the pictures and the music and all of this stuff, and it's a lot of extra things that the colleges really don't need, and you're spending all that time doing it, right? So we're gonna maintain having videos where students are not editing. And then in terms of making it longer, I think we'll probably stick to the 90 seconds. One, because there's some students that 90 seconds already is a little bit daunting, right? But also for the colleges, again, they don't have very much time. So I think giving them bite-sized pieces of who you are is an easier thing for colleges to commit to and learn more about you than if you send them, say, like a 5-minute clip, right? They have more than enough information about you. This is really just to sort of add more personality and more of a personalized touch to your application rather than, you giving your whole life story on a video. Any other questions? Ideally, should the video reinforce what is already in the application or introduce something new? That's a great question. I definitely wouldn't use the video to spend time on anything that you've spent a significant amount of time in your application. Like if you've already written an essay about it, if you've already given all the details about that extracurricular activity in your list, in your activities list, I probably wouldn't spend more time talking about that. So I think it's really, I would say the best use case would probably to, fill in a gap and include something new. Or if you want to mention something that you were only able to touch on in your application, but dive deeper on it or give a new perspective on it, or give a more of an idea of how it's impacted your life in a way that you weren't able to talk about the application, I think that's important. So regardless, you're adding new information with the video, because you want it to add more value to your application. You don't want it to be sort of repetitive, right? And this goes for any part of your application, not just for a glimpse video, right? Anything that you're sending should be a new aspect of yourself for the admissions officer to learn about you. I think the student can choose to not show their face. Any comments about how colleges react when they do or don't show their face? That's a really great question. I'd say, because we want to put the students in the driver's seat, right? And we ultimately want to make sure that this is a process that you're comfortable with, which is why we add the ability to turn the camera off. Objectively, I do think it is a lot better and clearer to connect with someone on the other side of the screen when they can see your face, right? But regardless, I think them being able to hear your voice and hear you talk about yourself and how passionate you are, right? I think regardless, that is a value add in and of itself. But if you are comfortable and you are able to, push yourself in that way, I would encourage you to turn on the video, just because it's a better connection, right? But if you're not comfortable, that's fine. I think bare minimum, you should still send the audio because you're still able to tell your story, right? So that's what I would say for that.
We have one question that came up earlier today, when we were talking about this is, how confident are you that the schools are watching these videos? Are they telling you that this is something that they're definitely watching, or are they just watching it if they have time?
It depends on the school. It depends on the school. I know we have some partners that are like, we've watched all of the videos. We're loving it. Please keep sending more. There are other schools that it's like, if we can get to it, we will. Or there are other schools that will watch it at a specific point in the rounds. Like they may watch it specifically for students who they are unsure about, or they may watch it at the end of the process when they're shaping their class. Like it all depends on the admissions office, really. So, and we don't collect the data in terms of like them opening it, because we do want the colleges to feel comfortable. So we can't confirm that, but we hear a lot of qualitative data from the admissions officers that they're using it, that they're loving it. We constantly are hearing from schools. That's why I say to take the list with a grain of rice, because we constantly hear from schools that are like, hey, you know, we watched your student videos this year and we had no idea that they were using us, right? Sometimes we send it to them and they do end up using us. So it really depends on the school. But I know we've heard constantly from schools. There was actually a student this past cycle and their counselor, they came to me and they were like, we heard directly from the admissions office that like our student's video like made the full admissions team cry, and they were very moved. And you know, she ultimately got in. Can I say definitively it was the video? No, but that's a pretty strong impression to make on an admissions team, right, to move them to that. Yes. So we constantly hear stories like that they are taking the time to watch them, and it is really impacting you know, how they're able to connect with the student and advocate for them in the end. So yeah, depends on the school.
All right, I'm going to ask for any last questions and then we're going to let Carina go. But from us at the College Lady, on behalf of Diana, Magda, and myself, we want to just really thank you for giving us the time and the passion and all this great information. And I've given the students your email address, so they might then email you later on if not.
For sure. Definitely feel free to email me. You can also email glimpse@initialview.com. It'll most likely be me that responds to you, but either way, that is our general email as well. So feel free to reach out with questions. I will promise in the next couple of days to record that demo so your counselors can send that out to you. But either way, a super easy process that I know y'all will do just fine with. So
All right.
yes.
Thanks
For spending time with me.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.